Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper. In this video today, I'm going to talk with you about the importance of having a good map and multiple escape routes on your survival plan. So let's take a look at this one I've got in front of us right now. I'm going to show you mine as an example. You don't have room in your bug out bag for, a whole huge Rand McNally World Atlas map and all that. But the one thing that you do need to have is what I like to refer to as a regional map. Now if you'll take a look right here, this map that I've got for an example today and the one that I use, you can pick one up for, $7, between $7 to $10 most places. It's called a regional visitor's map or a regional map. And what it is it takes a large city center, such as Knoxville in this instance, and gives you a radius around it. It may be 50 miles, maybe 100 miles, but this is good to work with because for me, that is where I'm going to be centrally at, and then I'm going to work out from there to where most people will be going their bug out location. I'm actually trying to get back to my home. So let's take a look at this map. First off, I want to look at the city center itself. Now what we have is, you'll see here's Knoxville, but I have marked out for myself, made my own little key down here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've got 4 routes planned to get out of the city. Now, I think it's very important that you have as many routes as possible. You may see some government agencies say you might need 1, 2, 3. I say get as many as you possibly can, okay? Now, the first thing though is, let's look at this in a normal situation. Where I've marked this off, this can get me out of town. Whether, say that a fire broke out in Knoxville, bad fire, that's not a probability, but I mean, just saying something like that happens, or say a major flood. Well, I have, a couple places here to go, and I'll demonstrate one of them here in a minute. But now let's look at it in another light. When the 7 trumpets begin to happen and that earthquake that signals before the 7 trumpets start. And when that earthquake happens, there's going to be a lot of chaos in town. So most people's going to panic that can get out of town and try to get home. Now, for me, that means that Interstate 40 is going to be clogged up, so that's why it's option number 4. I don't even want to have to cross there if at all possible. But for me, option number 1 is to go down the south end of town and go across this really good structural bridge, and then through the back way underneath the interstate and between the large area here where many people follow is 11E and 40. I'll cut right between those and not have to worry about traffic, not have to worry about other people. And if the bridge is down, I have an inflatable boat with me that I can inflate right there, cross it, and then take and pedal my bike on up the road. So now with all that said, this leads to the point that I want to make to you. Is number 1, whenever looking at a situation, this is Knoxville for me, but whether, you put your city on this for a minute and label it, okay? Is number 1, do you have the means to get out of the city, on your plan? So, if the vehicles are blocked up on the interstate, do you have a bicycle to pedal home? Do you, for that bridge right there, if all these bridges are down, I've got to cross at some point in a boat. Well, do I have my inflatable boat with me? That's a question you've got to ask. Do you have the means to get where you're going? Even if you have to go on foot, can you make it? Okay, now that we've got this flipped over, the second thing that I want to point out to you is a red flag event. Now, what is a red flag event? That's something way beyond our control that will throw off our own plans and our routes. For me, that's Oak Ridge popping. Okay, the worst situation I could deal with is not only the fact that the earthquake's taken place, but that Oak Ridge, one of the facilities that holds massive nuclear armaments, okay, I don't care what anybody tells me, it's packed full of stuff. I work in the trucking industry and I know people that come in and go out of there. I know what's buried out there. Alright, so with that said, if one of those was detonated, now I'm using my rings right here, okay, here's 10-mile radius around Knoxville as the center, okay, so I go over here, here's 10 mile away from Knoxville. Alright, so with that detonated, the wind's coming this way. Not only am I, trying to get home now, but I have to worry about radiation and other things coming toward me. So that red flag events are important things you need to think about. For those of you, I'm not calling this ahead of time, but I'm just saying, When Trumpet 2 happens and an asteroid falls from the sky, okay, and it hits in the middle, say it's Pacific Ocean, a red flag event for you would be where the waters, that mega tsunami, caused by asteroid hit, how far inland is it going to come? Do you think it'll affect me? Blah, blah. This is things that you have to take into consideration whenever doing a map. So these are some of the quickest routes that will get me home just in case something like that happened. So I've tried to factor that in too. Okay, now the third thing is a timetable. On a regional map, if you have it with the radius, you get the one with the radius, I know the radius of how far I am from work to begin with, but this map also shows me, so if I get off course, I know how many miles I'm away from home, even if I have to go a different route. And that way, if I had to go on foot, I'll have some kind of idea, a timetable. Am I going to make it home in 1 day? Is it 2 days? Do I have enough in my 72-hour bag to get me home? That's something you need to keep in mind too when planning your route, because this right here is a 1-day walk home. So if I have no vehicle, no bike, and I get across the river, I'm at least a 1-day walk. I can make it home in 72 hours. Okay, and the fourth point I want to make to you is, take a look at your map often, review it often, because there may be changes. They may have just closed Interstate 40. They may have just closed that bridge that I was planning on going across. Another thing to keep in mind is, I'll pull it up right here on my phone, is to take and look at these structures often. Get an idea of where you're going, what you're crossing. Like this bridge right here is going to be this one coming across Mine Road, not far up out of Knoxville. That's option number 2. And it's the thing that I know about it is it's a historic landmark, so they can't tear it down. So I know that structure shouldn't be tampered with at any point in time. And it's things like that you need to try to take in consideration. Permanent fixed things that won't be tampered with, because the last thing you want to do is have to try to bug out or try to get home and the place you go to is closed for construction. That's an epic fail. You don't want that to happen, okay? So there's another point. Now, with that said, the 7 trumpets is going to happen, and I encourage you to view this. It's on worldslastchance.com, or you can click the link. I'll put the link up and view it. When this begins to happen, we are not going to have time to sit down and try to figure these things out, okay? Now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to get these things together and figure out, am I ready? And I hope this video's been a help to you. I wanted to bring out some points that stick out to me constantly, and I try to keep in my mind constantly, because there's no getting it together at the last minute. We're already living at the edge of the 11th hour in time, okay? We need to be ready when that clock strikes midnight, okay? So I hope this has been a help to you, and until we see you again, I hope and pray you have a most blessed day in Yahushua's name.